Now, for some reason, Danielle Smith seems to think she has Donald Trump figured out. Go figure. It's been a year and a quarter. Based on this guy Trump's actions and behaviors, it just creates a right out of a wrong. So they can use executive orders to pound his fist on his table, stamp his feet, and get his way. And you just do not get it. And then you've got a referendum going on in Alberta, which makes no sense because like 4 months earlier, or December 2025, you had 400,000 verifiable signatures on a petition to keep Alberta within Canada. Yet she takes the 300,000 signatories in April 2026 and puts that on a referendum. Meanwhile, you got to question how many of those signatories are actually valid, how many have been abused and used because of the electoral slate. 3 million voters of Alberta was leaked to Republicans. No kidding. Republicans and separatists. Can you believe it? Let's go to the video here.
Alberta Premier Danielle Smith addressed the new North America Summit in Calgary today. She talked about Alberta's push to keep up the pressure on Canada-U.S. trade relations.
The stakes are high for our respective countries and for the world at large, so we need to keep up the pressure. We need to let the facts and the numbers speak so that Americans understand how much they stand to gain from this partnership. And that's why I supported the creation.
But here's the deal. Doesn't matter what Americans think. A guy by the name of Donald Trump, for the first time in 250 years for the most part, is unilaterally making decisions for a minority of the country instead of a majority. And it's all about him. It's all about Trump. It's nothing to do with the representatives across the United States of America. You got a president that's in a last term. He's trying to make it illegal and probably into another term, if he can live that long. But this is the way this guy operates. And you just don't get it. He's conflating wrongs into rights in order to place tariffs on Canada and create economic warfare with tariffs against his trading partners and every country around the world except for North Korea and Russia. Let's go back to the video.
Of the New North America initiative at the School of Public Policy. It is more proof that Alberta is not waiting for this to resolve itself. We are taking the case directly to legislators in North America, in Washington, in state capitals.
So with reaction to the Premier's comments, let's bring in political analyst at Mount Royal University, Lori Williams. Lori, thanks for joining us.
Great to be with you, Kieran.
So what stood out to you about Premier Smith's remarks on Canada-U.S. trade?
Well, she's obviously trying to focus on the positives, how Alberta is taking a leadership position. And this is important for her at a time when her leadership is being questioned from a number of different quarters with the referendum coming up. She's focusing on trying to advance economic gains for Alberta and work in partnership, not only with others in Canada, but across the border as well.
Is she really? She spent more time going down to Republican events down in the United States than she has to any event up here in Canada. How many regulations and trade barriers has she removed to make trade across Canada much easier? What about the ban against, not the ban, but let's not bring United States liquor into Canada? Well, her and Scott Moe, for some reason, think it's beneficial to have United States liquor in Canada. You think it's going to give you an advantage in being able to negotiate a deal? How many people in Alberta? 5 million people? You're smaller than the Greater Toronto Area in the province of Ontario. Just a city in Toronto. You're smaller than that. There's only 5 million people. You seem to think that your resources are going to make the country rich, take a country out of a recession, and that's a false narrative. That's a false belief, and it serves no one other than just gives you a feel-good moment. Makes no sense. Go back to Smith here.
I was a bit struck by the claims that she seems to be making that that she's got Donald Trump figured out. She's right to point out that we ought not to react to any given.
She claims she's got Donald Trump figured out. Sure you do, like everybody else in the world has. You're a number one Trump? Forget it. You're just gaslighting Albertans, you're gaslighting Canadians, and you're falling for this divide and conquer way of operating that this Donald Trump has been moving on around the world. Takes the leader of Venezuela out of Venezuela. Bombs friggin' Iran. After he cleans up with Iran, he's already had embargoes and sanctions on Cuba, and he's going to invade Cuba. He's already made a make-believe story that Cuba is going to invade Florida. And this is part of the gaslighting and divide and conquer strategy. You know, all those conversations with Putin are paying off for him. Let's get another viewpoint here.
And lastly, Michelle Obama is a man. Am I right, America?
That's actually a sickness. To be able to have to watch that, some people may think that's funny, but you know, that's nonsensical. It's really stupid.
Right there, you just saw why MAGA was ever a thing and why it is now nothing. And look, people can get upset and clutch their pearls and say, how could he say that? How could this happen at the White House? How could they be okay with it? And the counter could be, oh, come on, get over it. It was just a joke. It was funny. No, it was code. It was code. If you want to know why MAGA got to where it is, and if you want to know why it's going down in flames in the midterms, listen up, because it was all on display for all of us, and the code is clear once you see the game, and I am here to reveal it. I am Chris Cuomo. Thank you very much for joining me at the Chris Cuomo Project. Subscribing and following is so nice of you. Appreciate you, appreciate you. And of course, if you're into true crime, also follow Cuomo Crime Time. Free, just click on it. The channel's right there. You see it right here. All my stuff is out. Please check it out. Thank you, thank you. So, brass tacks. UFC 250. See it for what it was. Of course it's all about Trump. Of course it's not about the country. The man doesn't even introduce people who come up to him to his wife, who's sitting right next to him, the First Lady. I watched her all night watching Trump say hello to people and him not even acknowledge her existence. The only time it was different was when Justin Gaethje, who won his fight, came over to talk to the president and looked over at the First Lady and gave her a fist bump. Trump didn't even acknowledge that. He didn't acknowledge Don Jr. He didn't acknowledge his new wife. He didn't acknowledge Lara Trump. Barron Trump had to pat him on the shoulder while he was going, he's all about him. See it. His new post that he just put out. July 4th, we're going to have a big rally. Of course it's going to be about him. You know this. See the opportunity. Because you also saw very clearly why MAGA is DOA in the midterms. Why? Because it's stupid. It's become this stupid point of implosion. That guy saying, Michelle Obama is a man. Am I right? By the way, didn't even get a lot of applause. Why? Because it's fucking stupid. That's why. But MAGA has become MAGA is no longer this matrix of the discontented, many of whom were right about things that are wrong in this country. No, not that trans and gender and all of this nonsense and caring about reproductive rights, not really, only about babies in the womb and never about them ever again once they're born. Not all that culture war bullshit that is particularly effective on the right. Not that.
But as you noticed, he did state, but that is particularly effective on the right. They create these wrongs and conflate them as rights. And this is how they play a game with you, the people. Let's look at Danielle Smith again.
Expansive and growing pipeline network ATCO has been investing there too, and of course the CPKC line, which gives us now direct access for goods flow both ways, all the way from Alberta down to Mexico. Our government.
How do you think you're going to get down to Mexico? You're going to run a pipeline straight through the United States of America, Danielle?
Supports this because everything we do is aimed at expanding Alberta's access internationally and promoting a robust rules-based global trading system. We've got a great example of that in the Canada-US-Mexico trade agreement. For the past 6 years, the agreement has served as the foundation of our mutually beneficial economic trade relationship that facilitates prosperity and job creation in all three countries. And of course, that goes back all the way to 1993 with the foundation.
Yeah, it does go back a long way. Who are you trying to convince, yourself or the general public? Because 2 weeks ago, LeBlanc and his next lieutenant that's doing trade review with Jameson Greer at the White House had a good meeting, good couple of meetings over the last couple months, but immediately after, Trump comes back with a couple new tariffs. Now it's forced labor. And you're thinking, holy crap, forced labor. What is going on? So here you have the act of treating two distinct concepts of facts as if they are the same thing. Creates a wrong that's a right, and they give this falsehood a veneer of legitimacy. Look at fentanyl. How bad was fentanyl? I was in a dentist's office a year ago. Guy older than I am, early 70s, scrolling on his phone. I said, what are you scrolling about? He says, oh, immigration. And I said, well, what about immigration? He says, we got to worry about our borders. Our borders are out of control. And I said to him, our borders are no different since 1970 for the most part. Slightly different, but not much different. But now people will just take in this stuff. They don't verify. They don't use discernment. They just take it in, and this is how they're manipulated. So this is how the core mechanism works. The argument piggybacks on a universally agreed upon truth or recognized right by merging an erroneous or superficial detail with that truth. And then the speaker forces listeners to accept the whole package as valid. And the result, a fallacy. It results in a logical error. But nobody uses logic. They claim they're using logic, but if you're going to use logic, you have to use logic sequencing. And that's a little bit different, but that's different than what you've been taught. So a fallacy is the result. It's a logical error. And it's referred to as a conflation fallacy, where you take a falsehood and a false equivalent is drawn, and once you dissect the argument, reveals the false relationship. But unless you use discernment and discover what's really going on, you just fall back on this default, even though the combined conclusion feels intuitively sound at a glance, but the real-world impact is totally different. Real-world impact is totally different. And once you understand how conflation, taking a non-truth and making a truth out of it, helps clarify why certain flawed arguments retain their persuasive power. And this is what's wrong with a guy like Trump and his followers. Mind you, he's got a lot of followers. The United States has got a real problem because these people believe that's a right way of living. But you've got this Danielle Smith, Pierre Poilievre in Canada, conflating facts, believing that we should have trade, and we should have trade under normal circumstances, but you certainly must, after all that's gone on, all that you've witnessed, that we are under unusual circumstances with the United States, all because of an administration under Donald Trump, and it's all about Trump. If anything, Trump's showing you what not to do, what not to acquiesce to, and if you want to take the moral high ground, then that further substantiates my position of let go of this pain and suffering, move to a position of benevolence, empathy, and abundance. Let go of this pain and suffering. Quit trying to force something on somebody that's not willing to accept and work with you in a fair, measured manner. It makes no sense. Plus, you really need to deal with the general public in a fair, measured, and reasonable manner. And you're not doing that. Healthcare shouldn't be a two-tier system. We need price controls to get the rents down. Don't keep blaming everybody else and pointing the finger. Every political party for the last 2 decades needs to take responsibility for what's happened and has to rally together to make change. So let go of pain and suffering, move into a position of benevolence, empathy. If you got no compassion, you really got to understand. Do you got no compassion for yourself, your family, or a community? So benevolence, compassion, and abundance. Get away from this pain and suffering. Serves nobody. Beating people up with clubs serves nobody. So, love and peace to everyone. Take care. Questions, comments, throw in the comments section. Otherwise, try dumplings. Try some fried dumplings. You might like them. Take care. Ciao.